Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another Green Square Talks Battlebots prediction podcast. The last one of Battlebots World Championship 7, because at the end of this episode, we are going to find out who is hoisting the giant nut. So, pretty exciting times. So, last episode, we were at the top 16 robots, and we are now down to 8. We got 4 really fun matchups and 8 just insane competitors. Like, seriously, the giant nut could really go to any of these 8 robots, because all 8 of these robots have not only have worked hard and are just so deserving of taking it here. We got some pretty big names that have been in the top 8 before, and then we got a few where this is their first time. Like, this is the furthest they've gone, at least in Battlebots. And yeah, we got 4 really fun matchups to start it out, and then we'll have the 2 Final Four matchups in the championship. So lots of fun action for sure is coming, and I'm sure we'll get another fun after show event right afterwards. So I'm looking forward to it all, and hopefully you all are too, because yeah, it's crazy how fast this season has gone by. Because like this is episode 19, I believe, right here, and it feels like last week or something. It was like episode 1 or episode 5 of the season, basically. Crazy, like how fast this season's flown by. But we've gotten some phenomenal fights, and it's not over yet because I know Battlebots has hinted that Champions number 2 is going to be coming at who knows when, but they've hinted that it did happen, and we're probably going to get some exhibition matches too. So there's still more fun coming, but yeah. So the goal of this prediction podcast, I do plan to go up until the championship for this one. I'll plan on starting out talking about these 4 Elite 8 matchups, talk about the Final Fours as if I was right about those, even though I'm sure I'm not because several of these fights just really could go either way. But if I was to be right on those, I'll share who I think would advance there. But like I said, I'm probably not right on all of these. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started because we got some fun fights to talk about here. We're just gonna go left side first, and I'll go right side following that. So left side, we got 2 rematches. The first one I'm gonna talk about Minotaur and Sawblaze, which led off the season last season, which led to pretty solid start by Minotaur, at least in the first like 20 to 30 seconds. Then Sawblaze just took over and just was dominant from there, including we got to see Minotaur survive while on fire for most of that fight, so which is always really fun to see regardless. But yeah, as for this one, this is a driving war between these 2 robots, between Daniel and Jameson. I think whoever screws up first is going to be the one to come out on the losing end. That's either going to be either Jameson is going to screw up and leave his underside, his sides, or his backside exposed to Minotaur's attacks, or we're going to see Daniel screw up and Minotaur is going to get scooped up by Sawblaze once again, like last time, which is pretty much how the last one went down. Because I expect we're going to see some early head-on hits between these 2 robots early on, probably most of them favoring Minotaur just because design-wise, but I think this one's gonna come down to what happens in the first 30 seconds, just like last time, basically. Who's gonna have that first big moment? Like Minotaur might have had some early shots last time, but Sawblaze got the bigger shots in when they scooped up Minotaur for the first time. But so yeah, who I think is good. So yeah, basically, I think whoever gets those first damaging blows, whoever leaves the other exposed to impacts is going to come out on top, and I'm going to lean towards Minotaur on this one. Like I think I think if Minotaur can keep their front towards Sawblaze and keep that drum spinner going, I think they can land the hits. I think they could possibly bend the forks on Sawblaze because, like, drum spinner wise, it's similar to what they were able to do to Endgame basically last season. And yeah, I think if Minotaur can avoid getting scooped up and possibly bend those forks or leave Sawblaze exposed to some shots in the frame, I think this is Minotaur's fight to win right there. But like I said right there, if Minotaur gets scooped up, I think it's probably going to lean heavily in Sawblaze's favor. So, but we'll see. So, I got Minotaur winning this one, but tough one to call right here. And this is just going to be an absolute driving war. Okay, right down below, Hydra and Ribbot. This is also a rematch from last season. Just this time, Ribbot's the underdog in this one, seeding wise at least. Because I don't really consider in any of these matches a specific robot to be the favorite or underdog in each match. Because all 8 of these robots have earned it when it comes to getting here. Such dominant victories coming in, and awesome stuff to see. So as for this one, it's going to depend on combination. What config is Ribbot going with here? From the sounds of it, because the Waiachi crew did post a hype video for this fight on their YouTube channel, and based on that, there are hints that Ribbot went with the vertical spinner for this fight, which Jake also kind of teased that one during the post show in the last episode. But yeah, I'll kind of repeat my take at least on this one. And as for configuration wise for Ribbot, basically how I kind of felt is that the undercutter I think is kind of like the safer route because the undercutter has a better chance of biting into Hydra and possibly doing some damage to it. But I think with the vertical spinner though, it's a lot like Red Devil when they chose to use the claws config against Witch Doctor back in 2016 if you remember that match. It's risky, but if it works, they're probably going to win right there. The reason why it's so risky is if Ribbot was to use the vertical spinner, what's going to be key in this one is they have to outwedge Hydra. And outwedging Hydra is a very difficult task to do right there because Hydra has one of the best front ends when it comes to getting underneath an opponent right there. So Ribbot's got a tall task ahead of them if is indeed true they are going to the vertical spinner for this one basically. So, regardless of what configuration Ribbot uses, I'm gonna go Hydra on this one once again because I think if they go with the undercutter here, I think we're gonna see a similar outcome to last time, where we're gonna see Ribbot go flying quite a few times and possibly break itself by the undercutter hitting the arena floor, like what we were seeing when they fought last time. And if they go with a vertical spinner, I would lean towards Hydra winning the ground game right there. But once again, if Ribbot can outwedge Hydra, I think this is their fight to win right there. But yeah, this is no confirmation for me that Ribbot is going with the vertical spinner. It's just there are hints. It's just that I'm seeing hints that Ribbot did go with the vertical spinner for this one. Just I don't think I've seen a strategy post from the Ribbot team on social media because I think the only clues I've seen so far have been on that hype video the Waiachi team posted on YouTube. So uh yeah, I'm going Hydra in this one. It should be another awesome brawl between these two robots. All right, right side. We got Riptide and Copperhead. So we got a battle of the drum spinners. Well, two different types of drum spinners because we got Copperhead, like the basic drum spinner type that we usually see, and then we got Riptide with the egg beater style weapon. So basically with this one, I think this one's also going to come down to driving, basically. And specifically, though, on Copperhead's part, especially. Because, in my opinion, a head-on exchange is going to get won by is going to go in Riptide's favor, I think. Just because Riptide's egg beater has a lot more reach to it than what Copperhead's drum spinner has. And also it's a wider spinner a bit too. So oh but the reason why I think this is a driving match, especially on Luke's part, is I think an advantage Copperhead could take advantage of is if they go right at kind of like an angle from Riptide. It's possible they could shatter one of those bearing and pulley areas on Riptide right there. If they kind of go at it from an angle, well, once again, and try to attack Riptide that way, because I think there's no doubt we're going to see a bunch of head-on action here, unless if one of these robots like exposes their sides or backside in this one, which I think is unlikely to happen here, just because these two robots tend to go like full force on each other. And I'm not sure if we're going to see any fancy driving tactics from Copperhead in this one, just because of how much that's kind of seemed to backfire at least in previous fights. But yeah, like I in this one, I kind of think Riptide is probably the safer bet with this one because I do stand by my point that I think a direct head-on exchange is going to go in Riptide's favor. But I'm going to go a little spicy here. I think I'm actually going to predict Copperhead on this one. Because I think if Copperhead can strike from the right angle, at least on this one, they could bite on something critical on Riptide and possibly send them flying and send them off balance and vulnerable to lots of the big attacks that Copperhead is so well known for dishing, and Riptide could possibly be on the defense in this one. So this is one where, like, I think Riptide has an advantage by size, but you don't want to underestimate Copperhead, at least in a fight like this, because. And then the other thing being that Copperhead really kind of proved itself to me in the last time, because like I was a bit disappointed with how they performed in the Rotator fight and some of their previous matches, but wow, did they like I don't know what they did to improve the durability of Copperhead ever since like the Ripperoni and Rotator fights, but it sure took impacts very well. And I think if they had to take a few impacts from Riptide's drum spinner or egg beater, sorry, I think they absolutely could. So this should be an awesome fight regardless. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go with who I think is the underdog at least in this one, and I'm gonna go Copperhead on this one to spice things up a little bit. Okay, right down below, Witch Doctor and Huge. So I just want to say this, like I've said this a couple times, like if you've seen the episode review of the recent episode, like I said this a few times, but this is a fight I've been wanting for a long time because I never really explained why, but this is one where I was very curious what the outcome would be because like, I used to do fantasy competitions on Instagram basically, where I would set up a bunch of polls for followers and anybody else to vote on, and I got this matchup. This was probably the most common matchup I'd ever get, and most of the time Witch Doctor won, but I always felt, at least at the time, that I thought Huge would win this one. So, but I've been wanting this matchup for a long time regardless, because I think a matchup between these two, especially in their current state, because both these robots have been looking great this season, uh, I think it'd be an awesome fight. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And I'm personally predicting I think either this one or Hydra and Ribbot's going to be the lead-off fight of the episode. But yeah, so as for my prediction here, I'm going Huge on this one. Because I think Mad Catter absolutely exposed a weakness in Huge, as in those wheels are a lot more vulnerable than what lots of teams like thought basically when talking about how they're going to take on Huge, because Mad Hatter did take out some chunks of the wheels, but still cannot deny that Huge has such a major design advantage in this one, because I don't think Witch Doctor has the height to be able to strike the base of Huge. So what Witch Doctor is going to have to do is, unless if they have like an attachment for this one, which would not surprise me at all that they do have an attachment, their their methods of attack are going to be very limited. They either have to go weapon on weapon with Huge, try to break the spinner, or get them stuck somewhere, or attack at the wheels, try to take chunks out of the wheels. So, while Huge can just go full rain, at least on all the vulnerable areas of Witch Doctor. I think Witch Doctor absolutely has the vulnerability to take the hits, because we saw it just go the full 3 minutes with Fusion after losing weapon on weapon after weapon on weapon exchange to Fusion in the first like 2 minutes and taking just huge amounts of damage in that match. So basically, that reasoning is why I think Witch Doctor would absolutely be able to survive 3 minutes of assault from Huge as Spinner, but yeah, regardless though, I think Huge has the advantage in this one. I'm very concerned that I think Witch Doctor's weapon's gonna fall early in this one, like what happened with Mad Catter. But yeah, I think Huge's design advantage is gonna really propel them in this one, and that's why I have Huge winning this fight. So yeah, I have Huge going to the top four. So let's go ahead and talk about the next round. All right, so here's my top four. where I have Minotaur, Hydra, Copperhead, and Huge. 3 out of 4 of these top 4 were my initial top 4, at least in my original bracket. If you've seen the bracket predictions podcast, the one lone one and who was eliminated last week being Endgame. But so let's talk about these two matchups. So let's talk about the rematch from the 2019 season, Minotaur and Hydra. So yeah, so this, like I already said, this is a rematch from 2019 where Minotaur got a very quick victory over Hydra. We saw an early flip from Hydra, but then Daniel just outdrove Jake from there and got to the sides and the backside and quickly disabled the drive of Hydra. But yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see what Jake does differently in this one. If I took a guess, I bet he might go with the piano key setup for this one. Because I think the piano key setup is gonna fare better than the wedgelets, at least for Hydra on this one. Because I think they'd be able to take hits better from Minotaur's drum spinner than the wedgelets would. But I don't know what Jake would choose to go with. Like I think regardless, I think whether they go with the wedgelets or the piano keys, I think they're probably gonna come off because Minotaur, the extra reach that Minotaur has added to their drum spinner has just helped so much with crippling the ground game of their opponents. And I think that gives them a big advantage in this one. But I think the piano keys would last a bit longer, at least if Hydra went that route. So who do I think will win this fight? I think this is going to be a much longer fight than last time, but I am going Minotaur once again. Uh, I think Hydra will have. I think this will be somewhat of a repeat of like Minotaur and Cobalt, basically. I think Hydra will have the start of the match right there and be on Minotaur pretty quickly and try to keep Minotaur inverted as long as possible in the match. But I think Minotaur is eventually gonna destroy the front and the ground game of Hydra, and then eventually start kicking the crap out of Hydra from there. Because one thing we haven't really seen too much from Hydra is we haven't seen them take too many big hits from opponents on spots that's not their front, basically, if that makes any sense. And the robots who have gotten to like the sides, the backside, the top, Hydra hasn't lasted too long after taking too many of those shots. It's basically just showing that they're vulnerable to spinner attacks from the side, from the backside. And Minotaur is absolutely a robot who would just like massacre the sides, the backside of Hydra if Daniel got the chance to do so. So in this one, I got Minotaur moving on to the finals, but that'd be an awesome rematch to get, assuming these two robots advance to this round. And okay, so now the other one, Copperhead and Huge, and this one I was having a really hard time predicting this one, but I kind of have an unusual strategy that I think Copperhead might go with for this one. Because I do think Huge has a major design advantage, but I think Copperhead would fare better against Huge than like a typical vertical spinner like Witch Doctor. So what I could see Copperhead going for with this one is probably try to avoid going weapon on weapon as much as possible here. I could see Copperhead trying to go for like the black rubber or whatever material that is on the sides of Huge's wheels. Try to pluck that as much of that off as possible. Because I think a lot of that stuff on the outside of Huge's wheels is what gives Huge such great traction in this one. And I think if Copperhead can take off as much of that as possible, Huge might struggle a little bit mobility wise and control wise, and Copperhead might be able to take advantage of that. But that's kind of like a big hot take because like I do think they would have to take a bunch of hits from Huge because like Huge when taking on like Witch Doctor, Mad Catter, Scorpios, like everyone they fought so far this season, they have a major design advantage in this one. But I think Copperhead's size possibly could help it in this one because Huge is probably going to have to go with their longest bar spinner for this one if they were to fight Copperhead in the final four, just because Copperhead's a lot smaller. So, and I'm not sure how much power like their longer bars have compared to like the shorter ones that they use against compared to like the bar that they use against Mad Catter and what they're probably going to use against Witch Doctor. But yeah, as for this one, I'm actually gonna lean in Copperhead's direction. I'm gonna keep the spice going at least on this, because I think because like once again, I think Copperhead's size I think could actually really help it in this one, and I think if they possibly do go the route that I think they would consider going when fighting Huge. I don't know for sure. I don't know what Luke's strategy would be when taking on like such a unusual design like Huge. But if I took a guess, at least, which is what I'm doing right now, that's my guess for what Copperhead might go for, at least when taking on Huge. So yeah, I'm gonna lean in Copperhead's direction on this one, by a judge's decision. But I kind of expect a pretty back and forth brawl between these two robots, and I think it'd be an awesome fight if we get this one. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to what I think the championship will be. So here's my championship right there. I have Minotaur and Copperhead. And keep in mind, at least with the Final Four and the finals here, these are just predictions. Like, I would personally be shocked if I have a perfect bracket up to this point, basically. Like, seriously, I think I would be shocked if I had a perfect bracket here. Just because the 8 robots remaining, all 8 of them are just so deserving of taking the title this year. They've all had so many successful like prove it moments and definitely have deserved their top 8 spots so far. So I think this could go to anybody. So yeah, I'm just mentioning, just keep in mind that these are only predictions, and yeah. So for this one, Minotaur and Copperhead's Battle of Drum Spinners. 2 big drum spinners, and this is this one's just gonna be this one. If these two fought, I think it'd just be a driving match between Daniel and Luke in this one. So I think this is going to come down to who can outdrive the other, who can take the other's hits better, and who can win those early exchanges. Because I expect we're probably going to see some head-on action and probably some fancy driving. Because I imagine both these robots are probably going to be trying to attack the other at like an angle to try to catch one of the juicy areas, the exposed areas at least, or just areas they can bite on in general. That's not the other's weapon, and yeah, I think it just come down to who can get those first few hits and just keep delivering them and not give their opponent the edge. And I'm gonna go Minotaur on this one, but dang, that'd be a tough one to call. Cause yeah, I like Daniel's driving abilities. I would probably consider him the superior driver between him and Luke, but Luke's not one to be underestimated, because I think his driving is what has got his driving, and like the design of the robot, like driving especially, just because like Copperhead probably wouldn't be like in the top 8 right now if it wasn't for the great driving that he has provided that robot this year. But yeah, I lean slightly towards Daniel Freitas winning the driving match, but like I said, like this is a driving war between these two teams right there, and whoever wins that driving battle is gonna win this fight, because yeah, for reasons that I've talked about here. So all right, let's go ahead and reveal my top 8 bracket here. Okay, so this is my bracket, at least as of this upcoming episode this Thursday. Yeah, I have Minotaur, Hydra, Copperhead, and Huge going to the Final Four. I have Minotaur as the champ, and I have Copperhead as the runner-up. But yeah, so I think we could probably go ahead and close out this podcast. So I'm really looking forward to this episode. So tune into the premiere this Thursday to be able to see all the action and find out who's going to be the one to hoist that giant nut at the end of the season. So uh, yeah, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe as usual. Comment down below your predictions for this. Like, who you think will win these 4 top 8 matchups. Who you think will win it all. If you want to share who you think will be the runner-up as well. If you just want to share your entire bracket, basically, who you think will advance, at least. I'm totally cool with that. Like, whatever you want to comment, go for it. Prediction wise, I always love hearing what you all have to say. Like it, like yeah. How do I say this? Basically, like It's like what I've said all season basically. It's always fun to see where everybody agrees and where everybody disagrees with like my predictions basically. It's part of what makes this sport so much fun, and it's why I do these prediction podcasts, to be honest. I like to share my takes at least on what I think will happen in the upcoming episode, and I like hearing you all's takes. Uh it yeah, for reasons I've already mentioned. So, uh yeah, that'll probably do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.